Hi, I'm Madison and welcome back to my channel. Today I have my July wrap up for you. So I was looking at my July wrap up and I had a damn good reading month. Like, it was hit after hit after hit after hit. It was delicious. I read 11 books in the month of July and they were all adult books. I read no young adult books in July. That's the first time this year I've read only adult novels. Surprising. 8 of them were ebooks and 3 of them were physical books. I read 5 romances, 5 fantasies, and 1 Omegaverse. And for my favorite statistic, which is my page count, I read 4,982 pages. So as per normal, I'm going to be started with my lowest rated read and working up to my highest rated read. My lowest rated read of this month was a 3 out of 5 stars. I did read Sign of Cupidity by Raven Kennedy. This is in her Cupid reverse harem fantasy series. I was gonna say paranormal, but it's fantasy. This was an okay book. It is the first in a series and it took a long time to get into it. I do think if I kept on with the series, I would enjoy it, but the very first one was kind of like basic, and I've read a lot of reverse harems at this point that I kind of know what I like, and there is a lot of potential for this reverse harem. I just wasn't that into our main character. So this follows a girl who has been dead for many years, and when she died she was like, I want to be Cupid, and they were like, okay, and then like 50, 100 years later she's like, that was a shit decision. I hate being Cupid because I'm just a corporeal being and I can't have the sexy sex or the lovey love, and my life just sucks. So she decides to, mess around with like her love arrows and her flirting touches and things like that, that she then gets put into the naughty corner by the gods, and the gods go, we're taking you out of the human world, you're gonna go be a Cupid in the Fae realm. And technically this is like really amazing to be like a Cupid in the Fae realm. She's like, ooh, I gotta be a Cupid in the Fae realm. Except for the fact that she ends up messing up somehow and something ends up happening and she ends up being turned from a corporeal being into an actual being. She becomes physical, and as for the first time in like 100 years she can do anything. This poor girl doesn't even like, she can barely walk because she's been like floating everywhere as like this corporeal being, that she starts to like walk again and she's like, bitch is weak. Anyway, she's being hunted. She ends up on this like rogue island on the Fae world, and on this rogue island that she's on there are these 3 Fae men. They're not like technically Fae. I forget what their actual like Fae race is, but it's something else. Anyway, she's there with these 3 men and it's her reverse harem with these 3 men, and a lot of shit goes down. If you plan on reading this, that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to spoil what's going on with these 3 dudes, how she connects to them, and X, Y, and Z. It was fun. I had a good time reading. It was a really quick read. It just, it didn't do anything special for me, so I will probably continue on with the series someday, but it's not like something I'm rushing to go continue. But it was something really fun and fresh, and it was definitely different from anything that I've really read. I know that I'm very 50-50 on things that have like paranormal-esque vibes to it, and like a Cupid, and that whole Cupid part of the storyline, which was like a good first like 3rd chunk of this book, wasn't what I was totally into, so Next we have 2 books that I have been floating between a 3.75 and a 4-star rating between, so I'm just gonna give them both 4 stars because I'm lazy and I kind of hate the rating of a 3.75. I just think it looks yucky, so we're just gonna stick with a 4. So the first 4-star that I have is going to be a Not So Meat Cute by Meghan Quinn. I was really excited for this. I really was. It was in my BookTok vlog that just came out on Tuesday. So if you haven't watched that yet, please do, because you get to see how I kind of went about reading this and kind of more of my thought process. It's kind of like a Pretty Woman-esque reimagining. You're following Lottie and Huxley. Lottie just lost her job. She doesn't know what she's gonna do. She needs to make money, and she just decides to wander the rich suburbs in Beverly Hills hoping that she can land herself a rich boyfriend. And as she's doing that, we have Huxley, who is one of 3 brothers who own this like real estate conglomerate. Huxley is trying to land this deal, and this guy that he's trying to land this deal with is not being very receptive to him. And then Huxley sees him on the street and sees this guy with his pregnant fiance, And Huxley, having been told by his brothers that he's not personable, that doesn't have a personal connection to anyone, that he's too cold and calculating, decides to tell this man that he too has a pregnant fiancée and that they should go on double dates together. Now this is a problem for Huxley because he does not have a fiancée, let alone a pregnant fiancée. So Huxley is like, ah, shit, now I've done lied to the guy that I'm trying to make a deal with. If I get caught out, I'm screwed. So Huxley walks out of his Beverly Hills house, and who does he smack right into? That's right, Lottie. And the two of them end up engaging into a fake relationship for many reasons. And that's what it is. She ends up moving in with him, and that's what the romance is. This was hilarious. I laughed my ass off. It's one of the funniest books I've read in a long time. The humor is 100% there. This is a flat out rom-com. It is a spicy rom-com. We got a little bit of spice going on in it. Now, where the issue came down in this book for me is the fact that the entire time, for around about 50% of the book, Huxley was determined not to get to know Lottie. He was very determined to keep their fake fiancé, fake engagement, a business deal, and very cold and calculating. So he refused to really get to know her. So you spent 50% of the book with them, you know, being together and being a couple, but not actually communicating. They didn't know anything about one another. So we didn't really know anything about them either. And so there wasn't really any connection or chemistry between Lottie and Huxley because it was just lust, because he refused to get emotionally invested in her. And when you spend 50% of the book with a couple not getting to know each other and not forming a connection, the read and the romance just isn't going to be there, and something's going to feel like it's missing. Now, once they started to actually communicate, because Lottie managed to convince him to give her 2 questions a day to get to know each other, once that started, I fell in love with it and had a shit ton of fun with this book and thought it was super enjoyable. But because of that first 50% being such an issue to get through, getting to know them, it brought this down to a 4-star rating because it was hard to get behind the romance and really believe them when they were living together but were strangers. You know, it's like, bruh, what are we doing here? Otherwise, it was a lot of fun. I think if you like rom-coms, do check this out because the com part to it was delicious. So yeah. That's my thoughts on that one. My next 3.75 turned 4-star read is Twisted Lies by Anna Huang. If you guys saw my vlog for this, I did vlog my experience reading it. So this is book 4 in the Twisted series. It is the final book in the Twisted series by Anna Huang. It's a series following these 4 female best friends and them all falling in love over the course of these books. These books do take place in chronological order. They are considered standalones. However, I do recommend that you don't read this one as a standalone because a lot of things from the past books do kind of come in and the friendships really come in and you won't really love it as much if you haven't read them all, especially because one of my favorite parts of this book, and probably the reason why it was a solid 4 stars, was because of the bromances in it. The reason, let me explain. This is about Christian and Stella. Stella is a fashion influencer. She's really, really huge on Instagram. Christian is the CEO, head of this billion-dollar security firm, okay? And the two of them live in the same apartment complex, and Stella ends up needing a fake boyfriend because she needs to gain more Instagram followers so that she can land a brand deal. And Christian hears that she needs a fake boyfriend and offers to be her fake boyfriend because he has been secretly obsessed with her for years. So, you know, it's a little creepy if you think about it, but we don't really care in these kind of alpha possessive dark romances. They're allowed to be obsessive. It's not a red flag anymore. So they end up fake dating. However, what ends up happening is Stella's stalker from a couple of years ago ends up resurfacing and starts threatening Stella and Christian. So Stella ends up having to move in with Christian, and this story is that the two of them fake dating, this stalker situation going on. Someone is trying to sabotage Christian's security firm. So there's a lot going on in this. I mean, it is a chunky, hunky book. And it was a lot of fun. I loved Christian. I loved his alpha male possessiveness. I loved how much he was like, touch her and I will kill you, because that boy, he did kill someone. He did kill someone. The reason why this is a 4 out of 5 is because I could not connect with Stella. Well, I could connect with Stella, but I also had trouble connecting with her due to the fact of her Instagram influencer lifestyle. For For the first third of this book, she is very set on trying to like break 100K on Instagram. She's very focused on like, you know, that social media aspect of her life. And as someone who also centers a lot of their life around social media and doing like this sort of like influencer stuff on like Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and things like that, it felt like I wasn't escaping my real life. And like, you know, social media does give me anxiety from time to time. And so I don't like to read about it in my books. I don't like to read about main characters who are influencers. It's something that I actively avoid unless it's in a situation like this where it's in a series and I want to continue with the series. But you will never see me pick up a standalone romance that is about an influencer because I just can't do it. And so this didn't work for me for that specific reason, because it hindered my ability to connect with Stella, because it just got a bit too real for me. Like, it was an amazing portrayal. Like, I definitely like think that Anna did an amazing job portraying what some of those anxieties and issues are like as someone who does base a lot of their livelihood off of social media. But it didn't work for me because it felt like I was stuck in real life and not reading a fun romance book. So ta-da! We are then going to go to my 4.5 star read. I'm very excited about that. We have got Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. Damn, I hate that this cover always ruins the white balance. Anyway, nothing I can do about that. This is a very fun, grumpy sunshine, small town, single guardian romance. This was so much fun. I had a blast with this. It was so easy to fly through, especially considering the length of it. I had a great time and I highly recommend it. Definitely worth the hype. I did dock off half a star in this because I didn't like the final third act breakup. I thought the third act breakup kind of came out of nowhere. It really frustrated me, so I kind of wish it had been dealt with in a bit of a different way. It felt very immature for the characters, but otherwise it was a bomb.com. So Naomi is a runaway bride, and on the day that she runs away from her wedding, she yeets herself out of the window of the chapel, legit. She ends up getting a call from her estranged twin sister asking for help. So Naomi ends up fleeing her wedding and going to this small town in Virginia. However, when she gets there, her estranged twin sister is a little shit, has always been a little shit, okay? And so she gets there, and first off, the entire town thinks that she is her twin sister and starts berating her and attacking her because they hate her twin sister. Then she ends up finding out that her twin sister has stolen her car, broken into her motel room, stolen all her money and things, and left her 11-year-old daughter for Naomi to look after. So Naomi is now stranded in this small town with nothing to her name except for a random niece and some of her belongings. And that's where Knox comes in. Knox and his brother and his mum, they're very pivotal people to this town. They're kind of like figureheads in a sense, and Knox, after berating Naomi because he thinks that she's a twin sister, ends up apologizing and offering Naomi to a place to stay on his land. He has this like small cottage on his land because he built everything, and he's a millionaire because he won the lottery. And so Naomi and her 11-year-old niece end up living in this cottage. She ends up getting a job at Knox's bar. Not that he wants her to have a job there, but she does. And it's the two of them having this romance. They are technically neighbors. He's a huge grump. He refuses to fall in love with Naomi, but can't help but feel this like immense connection to her. I really enjoyed it. I really connected mostly with Naomi and her journey in this, because this is a journey of self-love for her, and it's a journey of her finding her voice and finding who she wants to be. And there was so much like great advice that just went on in this book. I loved her relationship with her niece and how they kind of formed this like familial relationship between the two of them. And you know, her and Knox's romance was really sweet at the end of the day, and I really did enjoy this book. I just kind of wish that the third act breakup had been a bit better, because it felt very immature of them, especially considering that they're supposed to be like in their late 30s, early 40s, these characters, and I was kind of like, what are you guys doing? And so yeah, that's my thoughts on this one. Now we're gonna move into my 5-star reads. I'm gonna start with the one 5-star read that I did not talk about at all on my channel yet. I love this book to death and will shove it down everyone's throats. That's The Pool Boy by Nikki Sloane. This book took me by surprise. It literally slapped me with like a pool noodle. That's what reading, like a sexy pool noodle. That's what it felt like reading this book. I was being slapped the sexy pool noodle. It's a bad analogy, but it's fine. This book is amazing. If you love smutty romances, if you love smut, if you love something quick, oh my God, pick this book up. It was H-O-T, hot from the very beginning. Within the first, what is this, 50 pages, you got a mutual masturbation scene. First 50 pages, you already got the sexies. I died. It's some of the best smut I have read too, and I read a lot of smut. So for me, if smut scenes really stand out, I like to highlight them. And this is the book where the smut scenes, where the spicy scenes, where the sexual tension and everything was so well written and really stood out to me, and I enjoyed it. I did not skip a single sex scene in this book, not a single one. And sometimes I do tend to like, skim them from time to time because I'm like, oh, what's the point? Not the case in this book. This book was amazing. I also just got to meet Nikki Sloane at a Polycon, so I had her sign the inside as well, which was super amazing. And I was so excited. Like, oh look, I even tabbed this book. Like, I tabbed it after I finished it, like to go back through. So you have Troy and Erica. Erica is 42 years old. Troy is 24 years old. Now, Erica just got out of a divorce. She caught her husband cheating 10 months earlier, has finally been divorced from him, is trying to really get her life back together since then. And that's when one day she's at her pool, sunbaking topless. She got a nice new boob job. She's enjoying her watermelons. She's enjoying them very much. And her pool boy comes over and has a heart attack, basically. And her pool boy is Troy. And Troy is a hottie and a half at 24 years old. And Troy has had a crush on Erica for years now. Years and years and years, a solid 5 years he's had a crush on her. And so he sees her topless and he's like, and things go from there and they embark on a romance. So I'm not going to say much more because I think it's fun just knowing that and going into it. But do know that Troy is her best friend's son. So that's where the taboo comes from. So it's a large age gap. It's around about a 20-year age gap between them. Plus he is her best friend's son, which was like, oop. Now, I didn't know how I would feel about this, but I really did enjoy it. There was no like mummy kink or any of that kind of shit. If you've been watching my channel for a while now, you know I don't like daddy, mummy, like that kind of shit. I don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. This did not have it, which I was so grateful for. So this is a really, really amazing age gap romance. The conversations they had in this were so good, and it was just really hot, and he was consistently bolstering her confidence. He was like, you are hot, you are beautiful, you are sexy, you are stunning, you are a wet dream. And she's like, oh my God, thank you. So yeah, I love this book. I highly recommend it. You're like 10 out of 10. Pick this book up if you want a smutty romance. If you are in like a reading slump, pick this book up. Just like pick it up, 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 pick it up. Anyway, moving on. We then have The Love Hypothesis. Oh shit, I forgot I got some stuff in here. We have The Love Hypothesis by Hazelwood. I finally read this in my BookTok vlog. I have it beautifully tabbed here, all pink tabs looking gorge. I read 3 books in this vlog. The third one will not be in this wrap up because I just finished reading it tomorrow. Yep. But this, I don't feel like I have to explain this book. Everyone knows about it. I actually will not lie. I kind of went into it not really knowing anything because I kind of forgotten. But this is The Love Hypothesis by Hazelwood. It's a super popular book. It's a fake relationship between these two scientists. Adam is very much known for being this huge grump, this huge like stoic, like pissed off dude all the time, and Olive is known for being relatively sweet and nice, and so they definitely are opposites in that stage. There's a huge height difference between the two of them as well. She's like teeny tiny and he's like super tall, and there's some really great tropes in this. The reason why I love this to death was because of the science humor. I loved the science humor in this so much, and I mean, I haven't been in the sciences for around about since 2020. So for about 2 years now, I've been out of the sciences. Because if you didn't know, my bachelor's degree was in neuroscience and I was pre-med. So reading this book really got me back into like what it was like during my college days. And I had so much fun because there were such great jokes in this, especially to do with like the lab environment, and people gossip in lab all the time, and there were some really great jokes in this. But I will recommend, if you are a science person, please pick this up because the science jokes in it are delicious. We then have my other 5-star book, which is Protector's Promise by Sarah Blue. This is book 3 in the Heat Haven universe, and I loved it. This is a bodyguard romance. It is definitely grumpy sunshine. I think there's a little bit of an age gap, but not a huge one. And what else is there? It's just MF, which is very different for a megaverse. A lot of megaverses tend to be polyamorous romances or reverse harems, but this one here is just an MF romance, which was totally, you know, really unique to read about. So we have Cami, who's an Omega, and she's also a pop sensation. And a couple months before the book starts, she ends up having images of her heat leaked online. And so she kind of feels like she's a bit in danger, doesn't know who to trust. So she ends up hiring a personal 24-hour bodyguard. And that is where Smith comes in. He's kind of known as the Omega Whisperer. He is an alpha. He's not tied to any pack. His younger sister is also an Omega. And so he kind of knows how to handle them. And he ends up becoming Cami's bodyguard. And the two of them end up falling in love over the course of this book. And it was super amazing. I loved it to death. So if you love bodyguard romances, do check this out. It was also very unique, like I said, for an Omegaverse because it's just MF, and so you don't really have those typical pack dynamics in it, which was really interesting to kind of explore. It definitely is a very fresh feeling Omegaverse, which I really appreciated because I read a lot of them, and so it's kind of nice to find ones that definitely do feel very different. So I would highly recommend this, and also I just think like there were some really great lines in this. There's also praise kink. I forgot there's praise kink in this book, so if you like praise kink, do check it out. And then last but not least, we have a series overview, and that is going to be the Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. This here, let me show you them all one by one. We've got Gild, which is book 1, Glint, which is book 2, Gleam, which is book 3, and Glow, which is book 4. I did also get these signed by Raven Kennedy when I met her at a Polycon, and she left me really cute notes inside of them, which I love to death. So if you've not seen, I have an entire vlog out reading this series, so I'm not going to get too into detail to it here just because I don't want to. I'm lazy. I feel like I've also been talking about this a lot lately because I've been trying to like shove it down everyone's throat. Basically, this is a fantasy romance series. If you're a fan of the Throne of Glass series, I highly recommend this. This is a King Midas reimagining. There are fae in this. This is a dark fantasy book, a dark fantasy, okay? Just putting it out there. There is on-page rape in this series, and there is also a lot of talk in this about abuse in sex work, of toxic relationships, of mental abuse and mental manipulation in relationships as well. So do go into it knowing that it does have these dark topics. I think a lot of people go into this series thinking that it's like a spicy fantasy romance. There is no spice until book 3. Now I will say book 4 has like balls to the walls banging a bunch of times. Like it is a spicy series and it is delicious spice, but it's not that off the bat, which is why I like to relate it to Throne of Glass, because our main character Oren is very much like Selena in the Throne of Glass series. So if you really did love Selena, I would definitely recommend you pick this up because you will have the same experience, hopefully, as I had in this, because I feel like I've definitely been in a bit of a fantasy romance slump. I haven't really been connecting with a lot of fantasy books or a lot of fantasy romance books in a certain way, and this was so bingeable. It was so amazing. I read all 4 books in like a week, and it was just a crazy time, and I loved it to death. I don't want to give anything else away apart from the fact that it is a King Midas reimagining. You're following Oren, and she is the gold-plated prisoner. This is the Plated Prisoner series, and she is a gilded girl, so she is completely made out of gold from King Midas, and she is kept in a cage as his pet, basically. And so this is a story about her, things happening to her. You know, I don't want to say anything else because I went into this blind, and so I'm gonna let you guys go into it blind. So, but just trust me on this. This series is well worth it. Actually, a lot of people here on YouTube, a lot of you guys who are watching it tell me, oh, if you don't like book 1, like keep going, you'll continue, like you'll definitely love the rest of the books. I loved book 1. And then I just kept loving them one after the other. They ended all on awful cliffhangers. I'm very depressed. I have to wait until next June for the next book. But, you know, I'll survive somehow, barely. I'm crying internally a little bit, but I'm going to survive. And Raven Kennedy is such a lovely human being. Oh my God, she's pregnant as well at the moment. She's having a baby. But yeah, highly recommend the series. Do check it out. And I'm not going to say anything else. Okay, that's gonna be it. I hope you guys did enjoy my July wrap up. If you guys did, please hit the like button down below. If you wanna see more of me, please go to my channel. And until next time, thanks a bunch everyone. Bye-bye.